Everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to build a major scale, or how a major scale is built. This is a topic that was requested by some students in my orchestra class, and it's useful for all of us to know. I know in band we spend an awful lot of our time playing in just a few keys, actually in orchestra too. But if we know how to build a scale, we could play in any key at all. Most of us above 7th grade know how to play a chromatic scale. We know how to play all of the notes that exist in our instrument. We just need to know what order to put those notes together in to play a scale. So for starters, let's start with the easiest scale. The easiest scale to talk about is the key of C, whether or not it's the easiest scale to play in your instrument or not. The key of C has no sharps and no flats, and on a piano keyboard, if I were to play in the key of C, I would just have to start on the C, which is this key here, and play nothing but white keys. So there's my C major scale up and down. Now, just knowing that it's white keys is a good thing to know if I'm playing C, but what makes a C major scale sound like a C major scale? And the answer is the patterns of whole steps and half steps. If you don't understand how to find whole steps and half steps, then you need to stop and go back and watch the video on whole steps and half steps. You understand how to find the whole steps and half steps in the keyboard. So I played these notes here to play that scale. Let me label them all for you. And I can look at these keys and see what the pattern of whole steps and half steps are by looking at them. I can see that C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step. I can see that E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and B to C is a half step. I could write that again down here. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. A student that played cello in my orchestra a long time ago, she told the class to remember that with a rhythm, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I just remember whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half without saying it in a rhythm, but it worked for her. So I can see that spells a C major scale. I can see the patterns of whole steps and half steps. Now, it'll work with literally any scale that I want to write. Let's clear some of this off. Excellent. What if I wanted to write a scale that was in the key of A instead? So as it happens, every scale that you're going to learn to write in uses all 7 of the letters in the musical alphabet. So if I wanted to do an A scale, I'd start in A, and I'd go all the way through the alphabet until I got back to A again. Now, in order for this to sound like a major scale, the pattern would need to be whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. But if I play a piano starting on an A, I can hear that doesn't sound like the same kind of a scale. That doesn't sound like the major scale that I had before. And the reason is I don't have the whole and half step pattern that I'm aiming for. In fact, let's use the keyboard up here and see where the whole steps and half steps are. So we've got a whole step between A and B. We've got a half step between B and C. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. That's not the whole, half, whole, half pattern that I wanted. As it happens, what I've got here is an A natural minor scale, but that's not what I was aiming for. I wanted an A major scale. So let's see if we can find where I should put sharp signs to make this A scale sound like an A major scale instead. So we know the pattern should be whole, half, whole, half. So we already have in this scale A to B being a whole step. Now I need to have a whole step between B and C. Well, I know from B to C is already a half step. To make it a whole step, I need to make the C higher. To make it higher, I'll make it a C sharp. So B to C sharp gets me the whole step that I need. And as it happens, if you take a look up here, Now, C sharp to D gets me the half step that I need. Whole, whole, half. Now, from D to E is already a whole step. I need a whole step from E to F, but E to F are a half step apart. So I'll need to make the F and F sharp, and that gives me a whole step from E to F sharp. I need a whole step from F sharp to G, but I can see here F sharp and G are only half steps apart. I want a whole step. So to make a whole step from F sharp to G, I have to have F sharp to G sharp. And then I need a half step from G sharp to A. Taking a look up here, looks like they're already a half step apart. So now I have whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And if I play those notes on my keyboard, I'll hear that now I have the major scale that I was aiming for. If I asked you to start on any note on the piano keyboard now, you should be able to build a pattern of whole steps and half steps to get the scale you're looking for. I'll walk you through one more. This is a common one that we play in band all the time. So let's do a scale that starts in the key of B flat. So down here on the bottom of the screen, let's write out the letters. We know we're going to have all the letters starting with B. G, A, B. And we know the pattern we're aiming for is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Already I can see that I don't have the pattern of whole steps and half steps that I want, because I remember from before that B to C is a natural half step, and here I have B to C is a whole step. That doesn't make any sense. That's not right. And I know that E to F is a natural half step, but here E to F are in a spot where it should be a whole step. So I'd better fix these things. We can start by starting on B flat. A B flat scale is going to have B flats in it for sure. And if I take a look at the top of the screen here, I can see that B flat and C are a whole step apart. So I'm already in good shape. Next, I need to go from C to D. They're already a whole step apart. Now, from D to E, I need to have a half step. And D to E, I can see up here as a whole step. D to E flat, we'll make it a half step. So I'll put a flat sign there. E flat to F is a whole step. Good. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. And A to B flat is already a whole step. So if I play that on my keyboard up here, I'll hear that I've got the notes that I need in a B flat scale, all by making sure that I had all of the letters in the alphabet and they were whole and half steps apart according to our pattern: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now, someone might ask, how did I know that it was supposed to be E flat and not D sharp, since we know that E flat and D sharp are the same key on the piano keyboard? And the reason that I knew that is because I knew that I had to use all of the letters in the alphabet. So going from D, the next note higher must be some kind of an E. It's either going to be an E flat, an E, or an E sharp. I needed to pick the kind of E that's a half step away from D. I did that, and I landed on E flat and got a proper sound in B flat scale. You can go ahead and try this. It'll work in absolutely any key you want to play in. I'll leave it at there. There's some, if you try starting on some notes, you might get some strange answers. But if you start on most of the keys you play in, it's pretty easy to figure out the scale. I'll have another lesson posted that talks more about key signatures using the circle of fifths and some other tricks so that you can identify what key you're in and what scale you should be using based on the key signature you see. Also, I'll teach you how you can build scales using the key signature rather than going ponderously through whole steps and half steps. But knowing how to do both is very important. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.